In part 1, we left off in July 1946, as the Spanish Republic had begun to crack down on dissent and the right had begun a counter-revolution against the leftist regime. At this point in time, Jose Antonio Primo de Rivera had been jailed by Spanish authorities, along with many other key Falangists. The stated reason for Primo de Rivera's detainment simply read arrested as a fascist, though no Spanish law outlawed fascists at the time. Even in jail, Primo de Rivera managed the Falange and ran a covert network using his established connections and visitors who came to meet him in his cell. In fact, the Republican crackdown and recent political tension benefited the Falange incredibly. New members and donations soared. Meanwhile, he both kept a leash on the Falange while also spurring it into movement. Less than a month before Franco's uprising, he sent out a circular to party leaders to prepare for the possibility of political conflict and orders concerning their dealings with the military. It was clear Primo de Rivera knew something was coming and wanted to prevent the army from co-opting the Falange. All this culminated in that July afternoon mentioned before, and as soon as fighting broke out, many rightist leaders that were arrested were quickly killed off by the left. This left the Falange with a severe leadership crisis, and as we will see later, permanently crippled the party. As recruitment soared, many new members brought into the Falange had to be educated on party ideology. Many escape plans were hatched to free the Falange's leader, with talks of using an assault guard truck or of flying Primo de Rivera to safety. This latter plan seemed likely to happen, until the pilot of the plane, a brother of Rivera's friend, was arrested, watching the possibility of the plan. Local militias and military also attempted to free him, but time proved that they overestimated their strength, and the Republic maintained a firm hold on the young man. Contact from the outside world was cut off, and it is estimated some 2,000 or more veterans of the party, as well as many fresh members, were executed in mass slaughters that took place during the first months of the Civil War. Republican prisons were commonly subjected to mass saccas, or cleanouts, that took place on the Republican side to free up space and resources. Primo de Rivera also met with Republican leaders to mediate a peace, one which would disarm all Spanish militias, while also ensuring political coexistence in the future, even nominating many liberals and centrists for positions in a new coalition government. This plan was ignored, however, and Rivera would be sent to face trial. An American journalist, J. Allen, from the Chicago Daily Tribune and the London News Chronicle, interviewed him on October 3rd. Allen, who was sympathetic to the left, recounted various reports, some true and some false, of Falangist atrocities and death squads to the prisoner. Primo de Rivera said that he wanted to believe none of this was true, but retorted that his young men were now without a leader and had suffered great provocation. He also added that if the Franco-led movement were truly reactionary, he would have withdrawn the Falange from it and ended up in a different prison. The American reporter left his cell, calling his words a magnificent bluff. Finally, Primo de Rivera's formal trial began on November 16, 1936, before a jury of the Popular Tribunal of Alicante, along with his brother and his brother's wife. Rivera, being a very successful lawyer, would represent himself in court, conducting his own defense. He read his strongest articles that condemned the right and differentiated the Falange from them. He pointed out that the military forces in Alicante made no attempt to liberate him, and even bombed Alicante while he was being held there. One of his most striking and most accurate statements was when he proclaimed his innocence by the very simple fact of being in jail, something that has been directly sought by the rightist forces in the revolt. The jury saw things in a different light. All three defendants were found guilty, and Primo de Rivera would be sentenced to death. A local journalist would comment that the lawyer was unmoved throughout the trial, keeping a calm demeanor throughout his defense. At the time of the verdict, Rivera finally broke, but only for a brief moment, where he would quickly say to his brother and sister-in-law, "You were saved." On the morning of November 20th, the leader of the Falange was shot to death by firing squad. The corpse was thrown into a common grave, along with other nationalist supporters. Attempts to free Primo de Rivera appeared to have been sabotaged by Franco, who saw the charismatic leader as his biggest rival. Despite this, Rivera's popularity forced Franco's hand. In 1938, he would officially state that the life and death of Jose Antonio make him our national hero, and a symbol of the sacrifice of the youth of our times. After his death, Rivera became a martyr for the revolution, and his remains would be buried before the high altar of the Church of San Lorenzo de El Escorial, very near the pantheon of Spain's greatest kings. A cult formed around the leader, which would conduct some of the longest funeral marches in world history. In the end, however, Primo de Rivera's fear was realized. The party he had started was taken over by Franco, with the Falangist leader succeeding Rivera being arrested by the Spanish general. In his final statement, Primo de Rivera said, "I pray that mine may be the last Spanish blood shed in civil discord. I pray that the Spanish people, so rich in good and endearing qualities, may find a fatherland, bread, and justice." I think there is nothing more for me to say about my political life. With regard to my imminent death, I await it without bravado, for it is never pleasant to die at my age, but without protest. May God our Lord accept what it may have of sacrifice to compensate in part for what there has been of vanity and egotism in my life. I pardon with all my soul all those, without exception, who may have harmed or offended me, and I ask pardon from all those to whom I owe reparation for any offense, great or small.